Hello and welcome to the Footballers Football Show with myself, Tam McManus. Joining me today, Scott Allen, and our special guest is Jamie Murphy. Jamie, thanks for joining us today.
No problem.
Obviously, you're at Ayr United at the minute. Your chances of going up this season into the Premier League, obviously the last couple of games have been a bit of a blow, but you're still confident that you can get Ayr United back into the Premier League for the first time in 30 odd years?
Yeah, like you say, it's been going well all season, apart from the last couple of games, it's been a dip. But there's always that chance, Falkirk are a good side, they're 8-9 points ahead at the minute, so we'll have to do really well between now and the end of the season to get automatic, but if not, and it's to be the playoffs, then so be it.
Do you think the system is stacked against the Championship, or the lower league team coming up, with the way the system works?
Yeah, I think that's pretty obvious. I think everyone kind of knows that. The fact that if you finish third or fourth, you've got 6 games. I think it's 6, 8 games to play, and the team in the Premier League has to play 2. So looking at it that way, yeah, it's doubly difficult. But it's happened before. There's been teams going up, so we've got some good teams in the Championship. Your Thistles, Livingstones, us, obviously Falkirk, a few others as well, doing well as well. So it's up to us to go out and perform and try and get it.
Would you like to see that system changed? With the playoff system coming up. I know. Listen, when I was playing, there was no playoffs.
So what type of things would you be looking for here though to change it? That's the thing, because obviously it's stacked in the Premiership club's favour.
I'd like the bigger league. I know.
I think we all would. But I think that's the one we've always kind of wished for, that bigger league. But there's just no sign of this moment in time any happen. But I think it would be beneficial for obviously Scottish football to and look at the young players, and we spoke about managers under pressure, maybe not playing them so much. So I think obviously having a bigger league definitely enhances our chances of playing.
Yeah, I think with the 16-team league, I think you're right. I think there's less pressure on managers, and we've seen it. Obviously, Michael Tidswell, sacked after 8-9 games at Dunfermline. It's unacceptable for me. Yep. But that is because they're dropping into the nearly relegation playoff. And if that was a 16-team league, Dunfermline might be mid-table. They might be. There's less pressure on managers. So I definitely think a 16. I don't know how you sort the playoffs out, but I think definitely a bigger league, I think, would lead to less pressure on managers, because it's just getting a joke now. I remember Sean Maloney at Hibs, I think, get 20 games.
Yep.
It's 9-10 games in charge at clubs is unacceptable. So I think that's the main thing that I would change. To be honest with you.
I think the fact if it is a bigger league, you get more chances for younger players to play. I think a lot of the time now managers are under pressure to win quickly, and therefore they're not going to put the younger ones in.
You remember when we were young though, like the last kind of 3-4 games of the season, there was always a chance of 2, 3, maybe even 4 years getting a game near the end of the season. That's kind of died away from our game in recent years. It's not been. It was quite a.
Yep, and bringing that 11th spot playoff in obviously doesn't help that, because teams are still wary. They don't want their season to carry on longer than everyone. They don't want to get relegated, so they don't throw the young boy in, or they don't. I mean, my first start was the last game of the season because we were safe.
There you go.
Do you know what I mean? Something like that. So there is, well, hopefully there is scope for change.
You're 35 at the minute, Jamie. Sorry to bring your age up, but you still look fit as a fiddle. How long do you think you can go on for? I know we're speaking earlier. Obviously, you picked up a bad injury, which we'll maybe speak about later on at Rangers, a cruciate. But how did that affect your game? Obviously, they took a bit of that out, as you're going to explain now.
Yeah, they took a part of my hamstring, which has caused a bit of problems. Then, touch wood, knee's been good. The hamstring's still quite difficult to deal with.
If you're missing a part of it, to be fair, it's not ideal, is it?
Yeah, a little bit missing on it, but like I said, they put it in my knee, and my knee's fine, so every cloud. But yeah, I feel good. I feel like the last couple of years, and hopefully a couple of years going on, I'm kind of getting the kind of lost years back. I'm 35 in age. I've played a lot of games and stuff, but I still feel 25 at times. There's times where I do feel 45, but no, it's gone well as long as I can train every day and be involved with the lads in the dressing room and stuff and that. I want to keep going as much as I can.
Have you had to change your game? Obviously, we'll speak about obviously coming through at Motherwell, but if you had to change your game as you've got older, maybe picked up injuries?
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe running at players rather than...
Without a doubt, I'm definitely not as fast as I was at 2021, when that felt like that was probably my best asset, was I could run quickly. So now it's all about maybe dropping in, getting the ball, picking the ball up. I've played centre mid quite a bit for Ayr United this year when we've been playing, so I definitely feel technically I'm a better player
You've got the hips as well. We just done
Still
that
got-
dribble. We've all seen it.
Still got a little drag in the shake of the hips, which I think is still quite hard to deal with for defenders. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm enjoying it at the minute and want to keep doing that.
Just obviously we'll start from the very beginning at Motherwell, coming through at Motherwell. Morris Malpass was the one that gave you your debut. How did that feel, and how did you feel your time at Motherwell went?
Yeah, I loved my time at Motherwell. I was there from 11, 12 years old, kind of worked my way through. And then first year I went in, it was Terry Butcher was the manager, who seemed to really like me and would get me involved with the first team quite a lot on a Friday when maybe the 19s were playing and I was still playing with the 17s at the time. I would go and train with the first team so that I could train with them, do the jobs after and stuff. And him and Morris Malpass kind of got to like me from that. So when Malpass got the job, I was involved a little bit more in the training, and then he gave me my debut towards the end of the season, Celtic away, Parkhead, so thrown right in the deep end. But no, I came on the last 10 minutes, and you know, you get that feeling. It's just like a dream. You know, that's what you got. My dad was in the stand, and yeah, it was just kind of a blur. I think I done okay. I can't remember much of it, but I must have done alright because I ended up starting the game a couple of games later. So yeah, it was what every boy dreams of, is playing first team football, and I was lucky enough to get that at 17 years old.
See coming through at Motherwell, was there chances for you maybe to go to, obviously, your Rangers or Celtics, or were you?
No, there was never anything like that. I always felt like I was good enough, but then, you know, get left out a couple of the younger Scotland age group squads and stuff like that. Eventually got in it at like under 17s, and then I go away in the trip and I'm the only one that doesn't play. Everyone else plays, and it just makes you more determined. I think you look at everyone and you think, I'm better than him. How's he ahead, or how's he deemed to be
Usually
ahead?
at that time you think it's because they don't either play for Rangers or Celtic.
Well, yeah,
it was quite like that back
they
then.
always seem to get chances, aye. But yeah, you know, you just have to, you go at your own pace, you do your own thing, you work hard every day, and I was rewarded with that by Motherwell.
We're just talking about your highs at Motherwell. You obviously, I think you played in Europe with Motherwell as well. Was that one of your highs at playing for the club?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I managed to score a few goals in Europe. Scored a hat-trick one game. I ended up the top scorer in Europe for Motherwell, which I think still stands. So definitely the European games are the ones you remember.
Was that Europa League?
That was Europa League, UEFA Cup, Europa League at the time, whatever it was. And we got close a couple of times to get into the group stages. It's not quite tiered how it is now. We were finishing third every year. We weren't straight into Europe. We still had qualifying games to play. One year I think we got the Fair Play Award, so we got in the first round. So I think we were back 10th of June, something like that. Our first game was like the 25th of June. And we're talking about highs but lows. We lost to Llanelli of Wales.
That's right, I remember that. Yeah.
We went down there and won eventually, and obviously went through. But yeah, there was a lot. It seemed to be with Motherwell, we'd never quite won a cup. We got to the final, got a few semi-finals. We just could never kind of break that barrier, and that was the only kind of thing I felt was missing at Motherwell, was winning a trophy.
See when you were coming through at Motherwell, who was the players in the first team that you really inspired you, that you looked up to, or in your case maybe wanted to displace in the team?
Well, it was different, and you'll probably remember. Like, I feel like first teams are a lot younger now.
Yep.
When I went into the first team, I was the only one under. We had Mark Reynolds was a couple of years older than me, but apart from kind of me and him, everyone was over 25. I felt like we were well younger than everyone else. So you go in and you have to get to know them, you have to learn from them, because there's no one else kind of my age that's in there. So you had people like Stephen Hughes was really good with me, ex-Rangers.
Shug.
Graham Smith, ex-Rangers again, was brilliant with me. You had loads of others, like Stephen Craigan was there, Stevie Hamill, Keith Lasley. Like, I still kind of think of these guys as like my older brothers, do you know what I mean? Because you kind of go in there and learn from them, spend a lot of time around them, and they kind of treat you as the little brother as well.
Especially a lot of time they've been able to see what you could bring to that side, obviously with your pace at the time as well, but your ability, I think, when obviously more experienced players see that type of player coming through, they actually want to help you, they want to...
And lucky enough for me, like, from the age of 17, 18 till when I left, all these kind of guys were there the full time. So Hamills, Lasley's, Craigan's kind of stalwarts, if you like it, for Motherwell. They were there, so they could kind of see the growth in me from then till becoming a big part of the team. So I did. I love my time at Motherwell. I still look back fondly on some good times.
Who was the top players at Motherwell then? Who was your top man?
Top man, probably Lasley. You know, Stevie Hamill, Lasley. The two of them were quite a double act together. But you know, I loved playing in front of Stevie Hamill. He played left back. I played left mid. He would always give me the ball, but he was always comfortable on the ball as well, which was really good. And Keith Lasley, who was the captain at the time, was a real heartbeat of that team. The team we finished third, got to the cup final. And then there was loads of good players kind of came and went through that. Tom Haitley, Chris Humphreys, Michael Igden, Henry Kojama, Nicky Law. I think Motherwell fans will probably look back on that time, and I think that was a real good team.
Were you there at the infamous bender with Higden at the Player of the Year do?
No, I wasn't. I'd just left. That was that January I'd left.
That could have been a great one.
I don't think that was the only bender he went on.
He was the top man that season, wasn't he? He scored a lot of goals that season for Motherwell. Aye.
He had Ayers running about from. He stood in the middle.
What were you like as a younger player at Motherwell? Were you quiet, or were you a party animal, or were you...
No, I was really quiet.
Aye.
I mean, I look
Got a party in him.
I've got a party in him.
Aye.
No, I look at
Talk about that later.
Look at young boys now, and I think, what was I like at that age? Because I felt I was dead quiet. Like, I was scared to go into the first team dressing room at first. You know, back at the time you had to go in and clean the boots.
Terry Butcher and Mo Malpass are quite fearsome characters, to be fair.
So you had a quick look in to see if there was any first team left before you went in to get their boots to clean them and stuff like that. Whereas now it's a bit kind of...
It's just a respect thing, isn't it? I think back then, I think it was different when... Obviously, when I was a younger player, you know, I remember going into the first team dressing room at Easter Road, and you Pat McGinley and Big Yogi and all that, and if you come in, they'd be saying, "What are you doing in here? Get out!"
Aye.
You know, it would never happen then. Aye, you were in to maybe pick up gear or clean boots or something.
Now they'll sit in your peg and tell you it's theirs.
You would
So
never.
you're right, it's a totally different...
Speak back to a member of the first team, or if they asked you to do something, you'd done it. Or
It's like,
I remember getting told to go and pick something up for the shops for me, and give me his car. Paul Quinn, give me his car keys. Going. It wasn't wash his car, but it was going, I need something for the shop here.
aye.
And you have to do it. You did it's not. I'm not doing
It's
that.
the first time you go in the team coach as a kid and you're wondering, right, where do I sit? And I used to just stand until every first team player had a seat and end up closer to the front.
And then you get shouted at by the manager to make the teas and the coffees.
Aye.
Yeah, that's all part of it. Doing the jobs, the kind of jobs have kind of went out of it a little bit now, but we were part-time cleaners at Motherwell. Like,
I feel like Dundee United, and I know you were as well at Motherwell, at that time were the ones who were still doing the jobs till 8 till 5 o'clock at night.
I remember playing with the first team, obviously being in the first team with my suit on and stuff, and then that didn't get you out of the jobs. Like, so at the end of the
They were
game,
just like, oh, he's here, he'll do the job.
The tunnel was my job, so I'm out with took the suit shoes off, flip flops on, rolled my suit up, and I'm like brushing around the other team as they're walking out the away changing room, like to get the dirt out the tunnel. So it was stuff like that that kept you grounded. Chris McCart was great for me and others that were there as well. Really kept your feet on the ground.
Obviously, coming through at Motherwell, you done really well. How did you handle some of the transfer speculation? Obviously, you went on and moved down to England, but at that time there was a lot of clubs linked to you. How did you handle that speculation?
I found it difficult, to be fair, because I didn't really know what to do. I was just playing football. I love playing with Motherwell. You obviously have dreams of going higher, but you never know what's quite the right time. And then there was a year that we got to the Scottish Cup final, and I'd done really well that year. And then it was supposed to be that summer. Was kind of, my agent at the time was kind of like, right, this summer's the one. Like, we'll see what happens. We'll see who comes in, and then nobody came in. So I found that really hard to take. And then I maybe had a spell where I maybe wasn't as good as I had been, but I was confused because I thought I was great last year. Why is nobody came in? Now, like being on the other side of it now, maybe there's different factors to that. I was still quite skinny. You know, people look at different things, especially go down to England. So there was a period where I found it really difficult, but thankfully I came out of that, and obviously things eventually started to happen.
And then obviously you got your move down south to Sheffield United from that. How did that come about, that move?
Well, they were kind of...
Were they in the Championship at the time, League One?
They were... Well, originally they were in the Championship, No, sorry, they were in League One, but this in the summer they'd said that if they got promoted, they wanted to sign me.
Right.
And they lost 11-10 on penalties at Wembley in the playoff final.
I watched that.
The goalie missed. So I was sitting watching that game thinking, oh no, here we go.
That's my move.
So that kind of got scrapped a little bit, and I was running out of contract at Motherwell, so they came back in December, and I eventually signed for them in January.
So to go down, obviously, a big club like how did you settle in Sheffield? A massive club.
Again, not great.
Did you sit down yourself? Were you married or girlfriend at the time?
I had my girlfriend,
Right.
but the first 6 months I was down there myself.
People Road.
Yeah, there was different places to go. Yeah, but
A good first 6 months then.
it was a bit weird because I think we're a bit like that in Scotland. I looked down on League One at the time, down in England. I'm thinking I'm playing with Motherwell, I'm playing in Europe, playing against Rangers and Celtic.
I think the exposure up here has a part in that, though, see, because of our league up here, especially the Premiership, so get so much coverage. When you go down to League One, it's not really like that. It's like Premier League, and then even the Championship's a massive drop from that, and then League One, obviously, as you've
Yeah, even
Then you seen
though-
your bank balance and you thought, it's not too bad.
Yeah, well, obviously it was a bit more money and stuff like that, but at the time I didn't enjoy it at all the first 5-6 months.
What were the hard things about that? Obviously,
Were you
Sheffield.
staying in a
I
hotel?
was living in a hotel. That was
Changing rooms.
difficult. The changing room felt like we had people like David Kitson, Danny Higginbotham in the changing room at the time, and I was like, these boys have played in the Premier League. They're all talking about their businesses and
Played
cars
with
and stuff.
Kitson as well.
They were in the gym all the time, which was something that I'd never really done. So I found it difficult the first 4 or 5 months. And
And the actual football side, it though, like on the pitch.
it was just non-stop because it was like Saturday, Wednesday. Like up here, you only kind of play in Europe up until whenever it was with Motherwell, Thursday, Sunday, and then you're just every weekend from then on. But down there, felt like every week. But within that, you were travelling, you were in a hotel.
Training was lighter.
Training was lighter. You didn't really get a chance to train
With
properly like we do up here hard. It was just kind of ticking over. So if you weren't playing, it was difficult. But yeah, I found it really difficult at the start. And again, probably stupid of me to look down on it. Sheffield United had 20,000 fans every week, but I kind of wanted to be in the Championship. That was kind of the plan at Motherwell, was to we'll go down. So to go down to League One, I thought was a step down, which it absolutely wasn't, and I found it quite difficult to be in.
Who was the big players in that team? Was Kitson, Higginbotham? Was there other players in the team that you would know?
That first year, the team wasn't brilliant. We had people like
Who was our manager?
it was Danny Wilson, and it didn't
Oh.
help. He got sacked after 6 weeks.
Is Doyle still there, the
Michael
midfielder?
Doyle was there. Kevin McDonald, Scottish.
Yeah, good.
Oh,
He was a
played in
really good
Dundee,
player.
aye.
Ryan Flynn, another really good player.
Played with him at Falkirk, aye, be funny.
So there was makings of a good team there, but we could never quite get it done, and we lost in the playoff semi-final.
First
We were
season.
expected to finish first or second. So that first season, I think we played Bournemouth kind of pretty early on. I'd scored down at Bournemouth, and Mead went top, and Bournemouth went 7th, and then Bournemouth went on a mad run, and we finished in the playoffs, and Bournemouth went up. And Bournemouth ended up double. They ended up, so 2 years after we beat them in League One, they were in, or 2 or 3 years, they were in the Premier League. So it just shows you down there what can happen. But for us, losing the playoffs was a blow, and I think the whole team started to get criticised after that.
So how long were you at Sheffield United for in total?
I was at Sheffield United for 2.5 years.
Did you get promoted the following season? Or were you
No, we
still in League One?
never got promoted at the time.
So how did obviously the move to Brighton come about? And Brighton weren't obviously the Brighton they are just now. Were they in League One at the time or Championship?
Get there, though,
Yeah.
Everything was in place, yeah, but you know, it really changed for me at Sheffield United when Nigel Clough came in. He just made it so simple for me.
Did you like Nigel Clough?
Yeah, I love playing for him, yeah, for many different reasons. Just kind of for the fact that, one, he banned me for the gym, which was I was delighted about. He told me I wasn't allowed to in the gym,
That's
I was just to
amazing.
run. Everyone else had to do the gym, and I was fine. He just said, you run on a Saturday, that'll do me. I was like, right, okay.
I bet the boys couldn't have been happy with that unless you were obviously producing the goods every week.
No, I was. I ended up
Aye.
winning Player of the Year and that
Right.
stuff that year.
And that was because you never went to the gym.
Because I never went to the gym. I still say that to fitness coaches now when they tell me to go to the gym. But no, there obviously is a place for it. But at the time, it was something I was struggling with. I was struggling maybe the physicality of it, and he just made things dead simple for me. Like,
it's funny that though, because we talk about physicality, but the actual Jamie's shape for defender, nightmare to play against. Obviously, we were joking about the hips, that kind of low centre of gravity, obviously sharp turns. That the big guys don't like it. You obviously know yourself playing against them.
Yeah, and down in League One, in League
Were you a winger down there, or were you play through the middle?
He would play me kind of everywhere. Again, Nigel Clough would come in and put his team on the wall, and it could be anything. You could be playing on the left, you playing centre halves, were playing midfield, strikers were playing at right back. You know, it's just the way he done it. But I loved it. One day I could be playing up front, next week I'd be left or right, depending on the game or formation we were playing in. But he just kind of always had that confidence in me that I was going to do well, and I wanted to do well for him for that reason. So
telling you don't need to go to the gym.
I'm telling him I don't need to go to the gym, and amongst other things.
Have you any good stories about Nigel Clough? Because obviously his dad was a legend in the game.
Oh,
was he the kind of character as well?
He was, yeah. His whole kind of...
How would you describe his management?
Well, his whole kind of thing was, if you give everything for me, I'll give everything for you, in terms of contracts, days off, trips away with the team. There was all these kind of things, and people wanted to play for them. So if you didn't play well, you felt like you were letting him down. And he would let people know about it sometimes if they'd let him down, but like everyone just wanted to do well. And there was, he said footballers respond to three things. It was money, days off, and nights out. So he used to make sure that we were all sorted.
Certainly three things that I responded to.
and there was many more quotes like that, but I don't think we've got enough time to tell them all.
That's brilliant.
What was his stories? Obviously Sheffield United, great. Brighton, how did the move come about with Brighton then?
Well, we'd played the playoff semi-final again. We'd got there with Clough again, and we lost 6-5 to Swindon. It was on the telly last week. It's always in one of the goals. So I played in the 6-5, 6 each with Motherwell, Hibs, and the 6-5 with Swindon. They're always on the telly. So that was, in fact, Shea Adams scored a double. We just signed Shea Adams. Had came in from Ilkeston. Nigel Clough had signed him. He came on, done well that game, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. And then they sacked Nigel Clough after that. And as soon as they sacked Nigel Clough, I was like, right, it's time to move.
That was you thinking about?
Yeah, he phoned me up and he said Brighton are interested, and he kind of wanted me to go as well. So I thought I would listen to him because he'd done so much for my career. But you know, I was one of what I felt like was one of the best players in League One at the time. I'd won Player of the Year at Sheffield United. We'd played against Spurs. We'd got to the Cup Wembley semi-final, FA Cup semi-final, Carling Cup. I was standing out in the teams, and I still hadn't been near a Scotland squad. Whereas there was people in the SPL who I didn't think were doing well enough, or compared to what I was doing down south, and they were getting called up and playing. And I'm like, right, I obviously need to move up here so that more people can watch. So that's what I kind of said to Sheffield United, and they obviously didn't want me to go at the time. But
who came in? Who replaced Nigel Clough?
Nigel Adkins came in. So we kind of had a chat at the start to say, if Brighton get to this number, we'll let you go. That's fine. And then the usual, Brighton got to that number and they were like, no, you're not going. So then it got a bit awkward at the end, but we eventually got there.
How did you get there? What did you do? Not turn up?
No, none of that. But I did have an agent at the time phone me up and say, go in and start kicking the balls away and cause a nuisance stuff. But I was never going to. I was like, straight up with him, I'm not going to do that. That's not what I'm going to do. I'll tell him that I want to go there. I'll try my best until that point. And thankfully it worked out.
So Brighton were they still in League One or were they in Championship?
They were in the Championship. They'd finished.
Was a step up for you?
They'd finished close to the bottom the year before, but Chris Hughton had came in and they'd improved. Chris Hughton had won the Championship twice before with Norwich and Newcastle. So going in there, it was...
What was the difference between Sheffield and Brighton as cities? They seem polar opposites.
It's just a lot calmer, yeah.
Brighton looks brilliant.
Yeah.
I loved Sheffield. Sheffield felt like a mini Glasgow to me. You had your two teams, like working class city or universities. Going out for a drink was fine. It was always busy or whatever. And you go to Brighton and it was just everyone's wearing flip flops. Everyone's chilled out. It was roasting as well. We found it
weather
25 degrees from. It felt like March till September, October. So it was like living in our country originally. But I loved it. My my now wife came down, and we just had our first child as well, so we were all kind of down there. We bought a house near the sea, so it was a really, really nice place to live for me and my family.
And your time at Brighton, how long were you at Brighton for?
2.5 years again, yeah.
2.5 seasons, that mostly Championship?
In England, yeah, we were in the Championship we should have went up the first year. We finished third. We played Middlesbrough last game of the season. If we won, we were promoted. But the problem was if Middlesbrough drew, they were promoted. So we ended up, we got a man sent off, we drew one each, and then we lost the playoffs again, which wasn't great for me, the playoffs. But the next season we came back and we were...
Some really good players now.
We were, yeah.
Who was the big players in your Brighton team?
Oh, we had a lot. We had Lewis Dunk was obviously there. He just went on to play for England and things like that. Bruno, the right back, was amazing for us. Glenn Murray came in the second year. He just seemed to score every week. But like, you wouldn't pick him on your team for training, but first time in the team.
Stevens, midfield, good player.
Dale Stevens, Bayram Kayal, Steve Sidwell. We had myself, Knockout, out wide.
Knockout.
Couple of others.
Championship
Liam
legend.
Senior. Shane Duffy came in that year. Connor Goldson was there. David Stockdale, the goalie. So we had a really good team. And us in Newcastle, I felt that year were by far the best.
What was Shane Duffy like at Brighton? Because he had a nightmare up here.
Yeah, it's funny that how you think it was brilliant for us at Brighton. I don't know.
I think he's been decent everywhere, bar Celtic. I don't know if it was the whole COVID thing and all that.
English football and Scottish football was completely different.
Especially for a
centre back. It's hard to even describe to people how different it is. But, you know, we were we were a defensive team. But saying that, we didn't concede many goals at all. You know, wingers were. I've went from
your wingers were good. Obviously yourself, Knockout, and that though you always carried a threat.
Yeah, it was kind of strange, and people say like, "Oh, I'm a wide player. You need to be fast. You need to be this. You need that." I've played for different teams, being asked to do different things. It's all about like the more you can do. At Sheffield United, I was to stand wide. We'll get you the ball. You run. Brighton, it was more like defensive. When their winger gets the ball, you run out, you defend first. And I didn't mind it. Like, obviously the numbers were down in terms of goals and assists and all that, but we were winning every week.
Yeah.
So that's probably the best team I've been in, the best team I've played for, in terms of personnel and things like that. So that second year we went up pretty comfortably.
What was Kyle like at Brighton as well? I know he was obviously a very good player for Celtic.
Yeah, he done really well for us. You know, sometimes you had to keep the reins on him and he would just run away.
Yeah, he was mad.
He was a bit like that, but no, we had him, Dale Stevens, Steve Sidwell, Ollie Norwood were the four kind of centre midfielders. And in terms of championship level down there, that's four really good players.
We're obviously going to touch on the Rangers loan deal. Obviously, you've grown up a Rangers supporter. It must have been a dream come true to get that call to find out the Rangers were interested in signing you. Yeah,
it was. I mean, I'd played a few games in the Premier League for Brighton, but the manager was honest enough with me. We'd spent 14 million on a left winger. So
Was Tony Bloom in it, Brighton at this point?
Tony Bloom was there the full time, yeah. But it was still Chris Hughton at the time.
Who was your left winger keeping you at the team?
It's Squardo, Colombian boy.
Right. Good player? Not as good
really,
as you?
no. No, he was alright. But
when they're signed for that money.
Yeah. You know, I'm not daft. He signed someone for 40 million. They're probably going to play ahead of you. So I heard Rangers were interested. I spoke to the manager, and the manager said, like, you're really good in the team. I like having you here, as probably the backup. But you know, like, we don't want rid of you. But I get it's Rangers, and I was like, yeah, like I'm not going to turn that down. So I think Bristol City came in at the same time. And again, the difference between Scotland and England, Glenn Murray said, "Oh, you're going to Bristol City, surely?" And I was like, "No, I'm going to Rangers." And he was like, "Why?" I was like, "It's just different up here. It's not like that." You know, you get some of my friends now, and they're talking about kind of these foreign players that come into Rangers and Celtic, and they're like, "Oh, why do they not want to stay? Why?" And like, because they don't look at Rangers and Celtic the same way that we look at them. So there was a bit of that, but. Yeah, I was only ever going to go to Rangers.
And that was Graham Murray was the manager at the time?
Was
he caretaker or was he actual?
I think I'm not quite sure. I think he was caretaker maybe at the time, and then had got the job till the end of the season or whatever it was. But no, I really liked him as a person. People can say whatever they want about how we were as a team or whatever, but he was always really good to me, especially when I first went in.
Was your family quite happy to come back up the road? Did they enjoy Brighton? Obviously the weather, and it's a nice city.
Yeah.
Were they prepared to come back to Glasgow? And
yeah, they were, because by this time we had a couple of children, so I really wanted them to start at school and stay in school all the way through.
Family round about you as well, obviously.
Yeah, and because we had young children at the time, it was difficult when it was just me and her, me and my wife, because my parents or whatever couldn't come down all the time because they were having to fly down and back up and all that kind of thing. So moving back up was much easier for everyone. And you know, I'm a home boy. I like being at home, so it was good to get back.
And obviously coming back to Rangers, you were obviously well known down in England, but coming and playing for Rangers, we know the spotlight here. Did you find that difficult being a Rangers player in Glasgow? You know, the tension that would bring.
Maybe not as much as others, because I was very aware of what was coming. Do you know what I mean? From being up here before and knowing what it was like, so I didn't delete social media, but I turned all the notifications off. I didn't turn the radio on. I didn't
read the papers. I
didn't look myself up on the internet, what a lot of youngsters do nowadays, and I stayed away from it.
Didn't that, you?
Yeah. The hate.
So you just concentrate on football, and I think on a personal level, I done really well. But as a team, we weren't where we needed to be.
Who was in that team then? Who was the forwards? Was Kenny Miller there?
Kenny was there at the time. He came in injured, and then they had the whole fallout with him and Lee Wallace at the time.
Oh, that's right.
With Rangers and Celtic game. But Andy Halliday was there. We'd signed Greg Docherty, Graham Dorrans, Jason Cummins came in.
Was Joey Barton there?
Joey Barton wasn't there, no. Yeah. That was before me.
Bruno Alves.
Bruno Alves was there.
Oh, good team. Seen the player, good.
We signed Russell Martin as well. Russell came in. Tav was there. So we had a good team, but it wasn't good enough to kind of make it to win the league. There was a period where Celtic, I don't know if Celtic had a little dip, but we played an Old Firm game, and if we won, we were only 3 points behind. But we lost that game, and Celtic just took off from there. So we never got anywhere near them the rest of the season. But then in the summer, kind of everything changed. Stephen Gerrard came in and kind of turned Rangers around, really.
Yeah, just obviously playing in those games, that Old Firm fixture. How was it playing in that fixture?
Yeah,
You've obviously grown up watching it.
Yeah, you know, again,
did it surprise you, the intensity of it?
Tunnel? No, because I felt like I was ready for it. Particularly the very first one we played at Ibrox, we should have won. We lost 3-2. We went ahead twice. Josh Windass and Candia scored in the first half, and Celtic scored just before half time.
Was that when Celtic got a man sent off?
Celtic got a man sent off, so I'm thinking, first Old Firm game, I'm going to score the winner here. That's what you dream of as a kid, all that kind of thing, and
then you can't get your own half.
Then Rodgers changed it. He went 4-3-2, kept 2 strikers on. Kind of we're attacking, they counter. Edward puts one in the top corner, and then it's just
that was something that Rodgers had worked on at that 4-3-2
up front.
We had when I was at Celtic when they first came in. That was one of in the first 2 weeks he'd worked on. If we go down to 10 men, how we're going to play against our team, and even in training, it seemed to work against guys well. It was
like, I think Rodgers is a brilliant manager, and just little things like that. You can tell why him and Celtic have done so well.
And it's brave to do that in that kind of fixture as well. You know, it really is, and obviously an Old Firm fixture. It's brave to go that, like, because usually you see managers would just go, right, we'll play for a point or whatever, play for a draw. But you're talking about that, the 10 men. I remember Tony Mowbray came in at Hibs when I was there, and he was the same. I'd never ever experienced that before. Tony came in. I had Bobby Williamson, Alec McLeish, you know, decent managers, and Tony Mowbray came in, and we took a man off and played with 10 men. And that was the first time I'd ever came across that. I was 25, 26, thinking, I've never missed this. But now you get a lot of coaches that do it now.
Rodgers probably, for that one time it probably happened, was probably the most important game of the season.
It wasn't a small game to do it in.
Which he worked on, obviously maybe 6-7 months before.
Celtic were there for the taking as well, you think, that game? Think at that point?
Yeah, I'm thinking as soon as they get a man sent off, like, right, we're going to score here. Like, and then it was just total deflation when Edward, great goal, great finish. Cardozo and Sean Goss showed them inside, they put it in the far corner. Still remember it clear as day.
So it's their two fault?
No, because we lost David Bates that game. Remember, Rogic scores the first goal, he breaks his ankle as he scores.
Cardozo's an interesting one, considering he ended up playing for Porto.
I know, it was Cardozo that came on, and you could argue he was at fault for the first.
Would you have thought he would have went on to play for
No, to be honest with you, no. We did have a few foreigners at the time, and he wasn't one of the worst ones, put it that way. We had a couple that were clearly just there for money, or I think Pedro Caixinha had been the manager before and he'd brung them in. They didn't. There was one or two of them shouldn't have been at Rangers. But then again, we had others like Candeas who done really well.
Mm-hmm. Was it Pena? Was that a striker? Was he there?
He wasn't there. He'd just left, but I heard a few stories obviously from going in from the boys that what he was like.
Like to Corona?
Yeah. We obviously had Alfredo, who's went on to do really well.
Mm-hmm. How did you get on with him, Alfredo?
It was difficult because he couldn't speak English at the time. I kind of went in. So
what was he like as a character in the dressing room?
It's like, you're very lively, yeah. For sometimes you get your foreigners who don't really speak English or whatever. He was always playing jokes. He was always messing around with people and stuff. But we were lucky we had Katie was the player liaison who could speak Spanish, so she kind of looked after him and had to, whenever he had got fined or had to go see the manager.
You liked the house party as well?
Or something, yeah. Katie usually had to clean up his mess, put it that way.
Obviously Scott Brown's your manager now. How was it to play against him? How did you feel he was like as a player? Obviously in all firm games he tended to control a lot of them in the middle of the park. And
the thing
do you think we're going to get an honest answer here for Jamie?
I
hope so.
He would speak through the game, that's the kind of thing.
Is he mouthy?
Yeah, he would talk all through that, saying what you're doing there, what kind of touches that while he's behind you, and you just think, go away, man. Go at the other side or something. But no, it's good to have a laugh and a joke with him now about it.
Yeah, obviously the Rangers loan deal was a great success for you. Then obviously the injury down at Kilmarnock under Steven Gerrard. That was obviously a big blow for you.
Yeah.
Do you blame the surface for that injury at Rugby Park, or do you think that would have happened in grass as well?
The thing is, I know what I blame, yeah, but there's no way of proving anything. I think there's different factors to it. One of the factors with the Astro was, I still remember it, Katic puts the ball over the top and it bounces, and on a grass park it goes out. It checked back up, and then I went to go again and I got a bump at the same time.
On that Astro as well. Was it dry that day?
Yeah, what was it, August, middle August. So
you didn't water it, you wouldn't have watered it before Rangers either.
So, but no. When it checks up, I go again, I get a little bump and I just feel my whole knee go in and out, and I kind of know what's happened. So I was in no real pain, it was just more of a realisation that something bad had happened here. I couldn't really move my leg at the time.
Yeah, obviously you've come back from that, and you're still playing. Hibs, going to Hibs now. How did that move? Obviously at Rangers under Steven Gerrard, were you kind of out the plans at that point?
Yeah, there was that.
And the Hibs come in for a loan deal for you?
The summer I'm coming back, so I was out for 8-9 months, and then something happened and I had to have another operation in my knee, so I ended up having two. But then that pre-season, I'm kind of working my way back to fitness, and we signed 6 wingers that summer. So I'm like, right.
Was that Gerrard signed?
That was Gerrard.
Is that like Kenton that when they came in?
Jones.
Kent had came in on loan, but
Jones did come.
Kent, we'd signed Kent, so Kent was on loan, and then we paid money, and then we brought in 3 or 4 others. Who I would still argue to this day.
Jordan Jones, Greg Stewart, guys like that.
Yeah, we had a couple who ended up staying and doing well. Some others didn't. But I kind of felt like at the time it was like, right, you're not going to wait around for me here, so I've got to get back to fitness. And then I went out on loan down south with Nigel Clough. Took me to Brighton and I had a great spell there, and then COVID came in. So I've just been out for over a year. Come back, I think I played 10 games, scored 7 goals at Brighton, and then COVID comes in and the whole world stops for 4 or 5 months. So all in all, probably spent a couple of years out of football. I know the whole world spent 6 months out of football really, but that was a difficult time. So when Hibs came in, Jack Ross really wanted me to go. I could kind of see at Rangers there was kind of no way forward. So
did you go and speak to Steven Gerrard? Did you speak to him and say, you should be playing, or did you chat with Don, ask him if you're going to get opportunities?
I did. The first game I was on the bench of the season, I didn't get on. In the second game he left me out of the squad, and I just went to see him and said, look, there's no hard feelings here, this is it. I'm not kind of sitting around. I can see the people that are on the bench. If you don't think I'm better than them, then there's no point in me waiting here. So he was all right. Gerrard was always great with me when I spoke to him or whatever. But
did that hurt? But obviously, you probably your time up at Rangers. That was probably your time. At Rangers.
Yeah. Was
that the season that London stopped 10 in a row?
That was the season they went on and won the league. So technically, I was still there, but not really. I was still on loan at Hibs at the time. But you know, I've never stayed anywhere that I was never playing. It was the same. I was in the Premier League with Brighton, and I still didn't want to stay. I wanted to play football. I've played football my full career. I've not been on the bench a lot. Kind of obviously it gets different as you get older and things change, but at that time I still wanted to play every week, so to go to Hibs seemed like the best thing. And
just quickly again on Steven Gerrard, did they still train? Did they still join in and train?
Join in a little bit, yeah.
Does he still have it?
You know how you do the shooting and the manager clips it in from behind, or somebody clip it in with his Preds on.
It's still quality.
Still quality, yeah. So he didn't join in too much, but when he did, he was usually spraying it about everywhere.
Obviously, we're talking about Hibs. You went out with Jack Ross. How did you feel you got on at Hibs? Remember the COVID season? I was working with Hibs TV and covering all your games, and it was the strangest thing that I've ever encountered. You know, going to games, it was like a bounce game. It was no atmosphere, nobody at the game. I was obviously one of the lucky ones working for Hibs to go and watch the games. But I think that was that the season that Hibs finished third.
We finished third.
Aye,
yeah.
It was a good season for Hibs.
It was. We'd done really well. Scott
was there as well.
I'd missed most of that season, didn't I? With the
health issues.
Aye, so I'd missed a lot of it. But like you said, that was a great season. I think
we had a good change room. It's like for COVID and that, obviously there was things that you could and couldn't do.
How did you deal with that? Obviously, I'd retired by then, but how did you deal with the social distancing and all that stuff in the training and getting tested all the time? And
well, we went through all having a car skill, obviously driving through.
The drive together.
It's not as if Hibs training grounds just up to Helmsley.
So your fuel bills were.
And we just turned up to training. Obviously, we'd get out the cars and we'd train, and obviously away again. But I think as the months went on, there was obviously some of the rules for footballers changed as long as we were doing the testing, which we all were doing.
Yeah.
But they had a really good squad that year.
And I remember played the first game, done really well. I think it was Hamilton at home, and then the second game, it's when the hammy problems kind of started.
Right.
I think I tore my hamstring second game in, quite a bad one. I rushed back because we had, obviously it was COVID year, so all the semi-finals and finals were all changed. So we had the Scottish Cup semi-final in early October.
Was that Hearts at Hampden?
At Hampden, so I kind of rushed back for that. Played a couple of games, hamstring went again. So and then I just got in this really bad cycle of, I think, and from that year, from September to September, I think I'd done it 6 times, 6 grade 2 hamstrings.
And that was just coming back too early?
Just kind of coming back too early.
Done a lot of gym work that year though, didn't you? Because I remember seeing the hamstring.
Is that the problem?
Maybe.
No, but see, we used to have a gauge at whose hamstrings on the kind of Nord boards and all the kind of stuff we use for the scientific things. Jamie was always like the highest, the strongest, but probably just because of the amount of issues he had, they felt that had to be as strong as possible. Whereas maybe now you've obviously changed that kind of routine.
Yeah, I had to change something because it was just. I seriously thought about retiring at one point. We'd got to.
Was that mentally tough? That whole season probably toughest of your career.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt, that was harder than the year out. That Hibs year, obviously, it was COVID. I don't think the drive helped with my back and hamstrings and stuff.
Oh, you're driving through for Bearsden there
every
day. Oh.
And then
quizzes in the jacuzzi after.
He
was a quiz master, this guy.
I do like him.
Oh, is he? All right.
So there was lots of different reasons. And I think I'd done my hamstring about the March time, but we'd got to the Scottish Cup final.
St Johnstone?
Against St Johnstone. So I'm coming back from that and about 3 weeks out, 3-4 weeks out from the cup final. I think it was my first session back from the last hamstring. I'd done it again. So I went hamstring, back for a day, hamstring. Oh. And I remember telling the physio, I think that could be me. I need to start thinking of something else here. And he was like, no, don't think like that. But at the time, I'm thinking, I can't physically sprint here. I can't run properly. I'm having to change.
Did you speak to your family about this at this point? Did you think?
I did.
Did you speak to your missus and say it might be me? Career over?
Listen, it was just they kind of shot it. Not they kind of shot it down, but kind of all agreed pretty quickly that no, we can come back from this. So I get back. I get fit for the Scottish Cup final. I'm on the bench. Unfortunately, we lose.
I was at that game for Hibs TV. I was greeting and all. In fact, there was no supporters there.
Didn't see that come.
No.
No, I didn't. It was Rooney again, wasn't it, at the back post. With Josh Doig, who's had a great career, and Josh just switched off for that split second, and Rooney came in and scored. And I remember just thinking what an opportunity that was for Jack and for Hibs to win the Scottish Cup, and it wasn't to be. So Johnson won both.
Yep.
Which I always think that season is an anomaly. I think when I look at Rangers winning the league and St Johnstone winning 2 cups, I think there must be something.
And Hibs finishing third.
And Hibs finishing third, who hadn't finished third because I was there about 15 years previous. So it was like a weird season because there was no fans there.
No, it was really strange. And then the next season we come back, we don't start the season off great, and still we get to the League Cup final.
You back fit for the following season, Stuart?
Yeah.
Aye.
We got to the League Cup final, but then
Jack Ross sacked
Jack Ross
Me?
the week before.
No, wasn't me.
So again, yeah, it was difficult to take when Jack Ross got the sack. And
how did you got on with Jack Ross?
Yeah, I got on really
I'm good
well.
friends with Jack. I played with him at Falkirk.
I got on really well. We had John Potter, Craig Sampson, that were the kind of coaching staff at the time. Steve McGinn was obviously my friend from Sheffield. He came in and he was kind of player coach or whatever. I got on really well with him. Yeah, I learned a little bit from him on and off the pitch.
It was a very harsh sacking. I was still maintaining that at the time. I mean, I know Hibs started poor. I remember the last game I was covering the games. We were on a bad run at that point, and I think it was Livingston away.
Yep.
And I was at the game, and I remember that the fans were poisonous, like towards Jack Ross, and I thought,
Boyle missed a penalty, didn't he?
I thought that might be the end. I didn't think, but I just thought because the fans had totally turned on him. I think when that happens as a manager, you're screwed. But you look at
success from the previous season as well, though.
So much credit in the bank for the previous season, Scott, and that was an issue for me. I remember coming out and saying at the time, he should never have sacked him. And I think Ron, God rest him, said the same, that he should never have sacked him. And you look at the succession of managers from then, who all kind of failed. Obviously,
see all the meetings I've been in when managers have left. Obviously,
how did Jack?
Do you remember that the meeting they came in and
After the game?
staff and that were crying?
This
was a couple of days later on the training ground. It was such a strange atmosphere, but
because he was because he was a good person.
Jack is a good guy.
He would speak to everyone, whether you were playing or not. He could, if you were sitting lunch, he'd come and sit and have a chat with you at lunch and things like that.
Potsy was really bubbly as well, so you were used to seeing Potsy every day, just the exact same way, bubbly, have a laugh, to then that day, and you could tell.
So what happened in that season with Hibs then? Why was it such a drop off for the previous season? Was the expectations of the club that they should be finishing third again? Was it?
I'm not.
There was still a lot of football left to be played.
Yeah. No, I know.
For a bad spell. I'm saying that though, but we still. I think a couple of games before that, the St Johnstone game, you scored in as well, didn't you?
Aye.
I'll tell you one of the. I wasn't at the game. I was covering it. Rugby away. You playing that?
I was there.
Aye. So I think Hibs were desperate to sign a centre half, and you didn't sign one. And you think Darren McGregor come back in for Siberia.
Yep.
And I think he get sent off, didn't he? He get sent off. I'm sure he gets sent off or gave a penalty away or something like that. And it was from that moment on where it was like a total, drop off. And no, I remember that. And listen, I'm still can't believe that Jack gets sacked, but I couldn't believe the drop off from the previous season to.
I think maybe the crowd coming back in.
Crowd coming back in, and the Hibs fans are demanding.
Because we never really had that. Like if Hibs were to finish third now, the crowd would be like, obviously not seen it in a while, like right behind the manager, right behind the team. And then you go into the next season, that'll probably start like that. Mm-hmm. We never kind of had that in the
momentum.
bank that they were really behind us because they weren't there. Mm-hmm. It wasn't their fault. They watched it on the telly when they could. Did
you find it easier playing in front of no supporters at Easter Road?
I hated that.
Because a lot of people would say, that was the reason why Hibs finished third. There was no supporters, there was no pressure. There was no people getting slaughtered.
That might be a player-specific thing, but for me it was...
How about yourself, Jamie?
It was strange, yeah. Like you said, it was like reserve games you were playing. Yeah. But I guess
I'd have been brilliant in the COVID season. I'd have got enough.
For everyone. But yeah, it was just a strange time. It was obviously a strange time for the whole world. But as a footballer, we were very lucky. To be fair, there's people they couldn't get out of the house. So, like we were lucky that we could get to still play football. But yeah, it was awkward.
Mm. Right, we'll finish on a couple before we finish, Jamie. Best player that you've played with? Played with a lot of top players. I was having a wee look this morning at your Wikipedia and some of the teams.
I've played with a few good ones.
Wouldn't it made you like go wow in training? I know people usually go with a big name, but the one where you were in training.
There's definitely one. Bruno at Brighton.
Fullback, legend.
Came through at Barcelona, didn't he?
That's right, remember?
Valencia.
Shaved head.
Bald again. He's assistant manager at West Ham now.
Right.
With Graham Potter, but he was the one when I kind of.
You were directly up against him?
I was up against him. I was at League One level and I'd went to the Championship, and Bruno had played Champions League and all these kind of levels. And I was looking at him every day. He was the best player every single day. And then he would go in the gym and do his stuff in the gym, but again, it wasn't like heavy stuff. It was all his own thing. He would go up, he would eat healthy, and he was a captain at the time. So to be fair, I really looked up to him. And then you get your days out or nights out where we had a lot of foreigners. So I think there was maybe 7 or 8 British boys who would maybe on a Sunday go to the pub and watch football or whatever.
Because he used to take you his Christmas nights out to Barcelona and that.
He took us to Barcelona once or twice. But he would come out with us. He wouldn't really drink, but he would come out and sit with us. And because he came, all the foreigners thought, oh, we should go as well. Right. So I think that was a big part of why we had a really good team. We all kind of.
And they were just seeing you sinking pints and all that.
Yeah. Well, they didn't. Some of them didn't stay for very long, but at least they turned up. Do you know what I mean? So
he's the best.
For a bit of everything, I'd say Bruno. But you had people like Harry Maguire, Lewis Dunk, who've went on to play at the highest level possible. So I could say a few.
He's got 3 defenders he just picked there, which I think
incredible. I've asked for a while, like somebody in training.
That big Harry just Harry in there. Big slab, he just nailed one in the corner.
Harry Maguire gets stick from all sorts of people. Harry Maguire could at any point get the ball off the goalkeeper centre half and take the full team on and score.
Aye, such a good player, underrated.
So good. And he was so big as well. Remember how Bagheera used to get the ball for Rangers and run past it? Harry would pass me the ball more than anyone in our team at Sheffield United. I would stand wide left. He would got the ball right centre half who's playing. He'd go past 3 or 4, get to the middle, pass it to me, or just take it out of his feet, diagonal. He was a Rolls Royce of a defender.
Best player you played against?
Probably the one that sticks in my head is probably David Silva. We played I was lucky enough to play the first game, Brighton's first Premier League game. We played against Man City. I played, and they had everyone playing. They had Aguero and Jesus were up front. Company, Stones, De Bruyne, Fernandinho.
Were you playing through the middle or playing wide?
I was playing left. I think I maybe came on after 10 minutes. Somebody got injured.
Who were you tracking that day?
So David Silva was on the right, and that way you couldn't even get your hand on him. Like, he knew where everybody was. He knew. So it was just, I'd probably say for David Silva for that game. But the week before, so Brighton always play the last game of the pre-season. They play a big team for their pre-season friendly. So we played Atletico Madrid. So it was that full Atletico Madrid team. Griezmann, Torres, Koke, all that kind of team. So yeah, probably from that 2 weeks I've played some of the best players in the world.
And finally, your greatest moment in the game, the greatest match you've played?
The greatest match was the best I've ever played. My dad says it was the best I've ever played. We played Tottenham in the Carling Cup semi-final.
For Brighton?
No, for Sheffield United. We were in League One at the time. The Spurs team had everyone in it. Kyle Walker was playing right back, and I played really well. I done really well against them. And I know Brighton were at that game watching. So I don't know if that was why I got my move or not, but yeah, that's the one that sticks out. Unfortunately, we lost the last. Ericsson scored a free kick after 5 minutes. It's one of the best free kicks you'll ever see. I still don't know how he scored it. Whipped it far corner, posted in, and then Ericsson scored the last kick of the ball.
That was your best you've played? I
would say that's the best.
Your dad said
probably
that?
Not the highest point in games. I mean, we lost the game. I still remember being upset at the end of it, but in terms of personal performance, probably, yeah.
Right, I've got night out in Newcastle here. I believe you two had a night out in Newcastle.
Who chucked that one, didn't you, Peter?
It's just...
we had a good night in Newcastle.
So how did that come about then?
My mate that was on loan at Rotherham with me was obviously on loan from Brighton. So me and Cash, I think we were playing a game, we went and met, obviously.
We played Newcastle away.
I think it was international break after that, so
international break down there, everyone
That was my first time I had a beer with Jamie.
scars.
Aye.
Like it's like 2 wee Glasgow boys.
Got bad influence.
Two wee Glasgow boys let loose in Newcastle.
Let
Any
loose in-
shenanigans, no?
Nah, it was
Relatively quiet.
The boy Knockout was lively.
Yeah,
that
so we
night.
had there was 3 or 4 Brighton boys stayed up.
All right.
So we had a good time, aye.
that
Like it happens.
Is that how you like knockout?
No, he was no. I didn't say I liked Knockout. I remember saying to Jamie after, I says he was next level kind of drunk. You know what I mean? Tops off.
He was
Champagne.
he was a live wire.
Aye.
He was you don't say a attention seeker, but he was loud. Yeah.
And finally, the best manager you've ever worked with? I think I know the answer.
Oh yeah, I can't not say Nigel Clough. Yeah. I mean, there's different managers for different reasons. Like from nicest kind of person, you got Jack Ross, like we spoke about there. Chris Hughton was brilliant tactically. We all knew our jobs. We probably the most successful manager was Chris Hughton, but
Just for man management skills, was that just purely man management?
for
Was he
Clough,
was
How he
he
made
the best
Jamie
technician?
How he made
Best
you feel?
Tactically?
who Clough or
Was obviously Clough not the best tactically, but just
yeah,
best man
how he
manager?
made me feel as a player and how that period of Sheffield United when he first came in to win it left probably my most enjoyable time. And then he signed me on loan twice at 2 different teams when I was up here maybe struggling for injury or game time. He was just straight on the phone saying come down, play, don't worry about it. So I got quite close to him and his family. He looked after me. If I was in the hotel myself or with any of the other boys' hotel, we would phone up and say come round, we're going out for dinner. It wasn't like, do you want to come to dinner? It was like, we're going for dinner. So
Have you any funny stories about him to finish?
funny stories that I can tell.
That's all right, you can tell them.
I can tell. No, look,
Probably so many with a guy like that on a day that I think that was actually part of his personality, wasn't it? But he was so off the cuff at times.
Yeah, there was a few times he would always make sure that we would go away for a couple of days throughout the season if it was international break or whatever. So we go away one time and we think we're going away to train, and so we put all the gear on, we go outside and he's like, throw some water on you. So we all just throw some water on the guy, takes a couple of pictures, like, pretend you're passing the ball and that. So he got the photos, so 5 minutes, he was like, right, see you later.
Aye, up the road.
Breakfast at 9, see you tomorrow.
Aye.
Class.
So there was little things, he looked after the boys. Yeah.
Bro, we could have spoke here for hours. It's been a great chat, Scott, with Scott and with you, Jamie. Thanks for listening and watching, and please subscribe to the PLZ YouTube channel.